Right, we are now officially recording. Welcome back, all of our chatters tonight. These lovely folks have been having some amazing conversations about digital clutter. And if you're watching in the replay, you can join us next month at our Your Way workshop and have awesome discussions in small groups as well. In a few minutes, we're going to have our wrap-up discussion where all these pretty people are going to share their lessons learned. So get your thinking caps on and think about what nugget of wisdom you're taking away, what thing you want to try. But first, I want to share a little fun preview of our latest issue of Spark Magazine, which just came out tonight at 6 p.m. I'm going to share my screen over here. All right, we are so excited about our organization journey kicking off. And this new issue, this is our second double issue. This is our first issue that is more than 100 pages. It is 110 pages. And so I'm going to flip through pretty quickly here because there are so many pages. But I am just so proud of our team and what they put together. Each issue is incredible, but we offer kind of this introduction in the beginning to different organization ideas, featuring our creative team members, doing a little bit more behind the scenes. We've been asked a lot about to hear about the team members that are making pages every time. We've got new sketches and templates from our featured artist, Steph Connor. You may have heard her this week on the Scrapbook Your Way podcast. And of course, our team created with these sketches and digital templates. Our digital template library is edging on 600 now. We're so proud that we have so many different design opportunities for you. It is organized by number of photos as well, the top way that people search for sketches and templates. And of course, we have our Story Starter Remix. We have more than 1,000 storytelling prompts in our library. And so in each issue, we're selecting one of our past themes and having our team work with that. And each category of themes, this one is called Connecting Stories, has 12 different prompts that you kind of pick from. And they're just really great ways, different sparks to send you in different directions for telling your stories. That's, I think, always probably my favorite section. But my new favorite section is Scrapbook Style. And we're using our style featured artists. And these tend to be people who maybe we wouldn't normally make sketches from, though this one would be a great sketch artist for us. Last month, we had a pocket page designer. And so we're trying to take their approach to scrapbooking in this style challenge that we're issuing to our members. Like, what is one thing that they do consistently on their pages, and how can we incorporate that into ours? And so we took the style inspiration from Jacqueline, and one thing that we all noticed that she did again and again, and it was so fun. And then, of course, we've got our sketch remix. So everyone wants more double page sketches. So each month, our team is asked to combine 2 of our sketches and templates from our library into new pages. And some of these are so amazing. Our team has definitely stretched themselves. Some love double pages, some absolutely hate them, but they're trying, and they're learning new skills such as pairing pocket pages with big layouts. Another example there with using a grid. And then we're taking these and building 3 new sketches, and of course the layered template version as well from those. And we've got some information on what's coming up and our book club. So that was a very, very quick tour through 110 pages. But what I want to show you is I'm going to pop this in the chat box. I actually made just a tiny kind of mini preview version for you all tonight. And so what it has is, our table of contents here, so you can get an idea of what's in this issue of Spark. And then I created this special kind of overview page of our upcoming refresh retreat, which actually starts tomorrow. So we're in this 2-month organization journey. It started on March 1st. It will go through the end of April. And throughout every journey, we have several different activities. We're kind of repeating. We always have our refresh retreat at the very beginning as a way to pause and kind of recalibrate. Then we have other fun things in the middle. And then in the second month, we have our bigger event where we dive a little bit deeper. And so this month, or this time around in April, we're going to be having Stash Bash, which is a 7-day kind of more intensive creative challenge to use up, declutter, and organize your stash of scrapbook supplies. But I wanted to give you a preview here of Refresh and the 4 activities that we'll be working on. It's going to be game themed. So we have dominoes, checkers, Scrabble, and Mancala. So of course, I'm not asking you to play those games. Those are the names of the activities. And it will all kind of become clear. And I shared a little schedule here of the open crop times we have coming up. A little bit here on our full calendar, some of the things I just mentioned, like Stash Bash, our book club. And if you are interested in becoming a member and you're not one yet, you can click this link down here or any of the other links that I regularly send you about doing that. So I'm going to pop this in the chat box for you guys. All right, right here. Good, it's not too big. So just a fun little preview for you guys. If you've never seen an issue of Spark before, this one it just might be the very best. And I know I say that every time, but the color palette, how it all came together, the examples from our so talented team members, it's just really beautiful. And 110 pages just kind of blows my mind. So we don't do these, we don't sell physical copies, but you can upload and buy your own from Blurb. And so I printed the January, February edition, and it's just so amazing to see this and to have this as something to reference. And yeah, our team just does an amazing job, especially with their tips. We don't just show you pretty pages. We ask our team members to really share a specific thing that they think that you can learn from it, whether it's related to the design of the page, how they approach the story. So there's just so many nuggets of wisdom that you can take away in every single issue. So if that is something on your mind, I hope the preview kind of gives you a little bit more information and a little bit of a teaser there. But for now, let's jump into our discussion. I'm going to review the questions here that you guys all chatted about tonight. What are the clutter hotspots on your computer? Do you keep them tidy or do you let them pile up? What types of files do you have for digital or hybrid scrapbooking? And how do you store them? And what is one habit you should work on to better manage your clutter? And is there kind of a related habit you've already mastered that can help you do that? I can't wait to hear everything that you guys discussed. Who is first?
Well, I know that in my chat rooms, we talked a lot about photos.
Really? Okay.
I mean, they're definitely a thing that's most difficult for me. And so we talked about, what I learned was about using Lightroom for organizing photos and keeping things organized there.
Yes, I love Lightroom. Been using it for more than a decade. So if you ever have any questions, I'm happy to answer. And we have a lot of other really excellent Lightroom users here. Sue is a professional photo organizer, very proficient in Lightroom. So it's a great community if you want to learn Lightroom.
Thank you.
All right, other conversations. I knew photos was going to come up, so I'm not pretending that I didn't. It's kind of hard to think about your digital stuff without thinking about your photos in all your places. Kim?
Well, I think I heard a lot was kind of the idea we talked about, just because you can download something because it's free and cute doesn't mean you should always download something.
Yes. That is a very important
Maybe
thing.
intention when you're downloading things, or the idea of like doing so with a plan to use it. Though I know that sometimes that's hard because it's free for 2 days, and but maybe I guess at some point having a system to really evaluate whether you will do something with that or it's just going to get lost in the folders and the downloads.
Yeah, to even kind of keep a downloads area for things that you're thinking about keeping. We can't really do that with stuff that we buy. We buy it, it's at our home, but the same way if you box up a bunch of clothes, and if you don't open it in 6 months, then you didn't need any of that. So maybe you could treat some of your downloads that way as well.
I spent most of the time talking up Lightroom and Dropbox for everyone, but
Nice.
One takeaway I got that I try to do, and I'm not always good at, is even when you have a download, and like, let's say when I'm importing into Lightroom, right then delete the things I know I'm not going to use.
Yes.
So For me, I do hybrid, but I don't do digital scrapbooking. So if it looks like a ribbon, I'm going to put a real ribbon on there. So just delete the ribbons and just delete the stuff that I definitely won't use. And then that just will cut down how much.
I love that. So it looks like Lauren and or Jan, I'm guessing it's maybe Jan's version here tonight, but I got tips on using Artisan and Lightroom. I'm new to digital, so I learned a lot to organize my digital life now. All right.
I know it's super simple, but Kim was saying she has an alarm in her phone to go through her photos and edit or cull what she doesn't need. So I'm taking that on board, and I've been watching a lot of, these decluttering YouTubers. And Steph Secret Slob has this thing where she does a 5x5. She spends 5 minutes in 5 rooms of her house and just does whatever she can for those 5 minutes. And I'm going to take that approach with my photos and my digital clutter and just spend 5 minutes on my photos, on my files, on, whatever else category. And because I've kept my house clean, spending 2 25-minute blocks in the last 2 weeks. So if I can do it for my house, I can do it for my digital clutter.
Ooh, yeah. I think that there is something to the recurring small blocks of time that really, really work, and to make sure that you really make that a habit. Because we won't ever just kind of stumble upon the time. We have to choose it and carve it out. Thanks.
I think what is interesting about the fact that it's like 5 different areas too is because sometimes you might put all your focus and you're all in on like one thing, and then you kind of burn out, or like everything else goes crazy while you're working on that. But if you kind of spread out your efforts, you can kind of see like that incremental progress across the board. That's interesting to approach it that way.
And the other thing is,
go ahead.
Squirrel brain. Like, I only have to spend 5 minutes and then I'm done. And I don't get distracted in 5 minutes because I'm already on to the next thing.
I was going to add at the same time that sometimes though that 5 minutes does turn into longer because you kind of got over that activation energy hurdle to get started. And you're like, well, if I go and spend another 5 minutes, I can actually finish this. Annette says several people mentioned they use Adobe Bridge as a tool to organize their files. So I think Bridge is a really awesome tool because it's free from Adobe, easy to download and use, and it's a way to like look into your folders. Someone asked the other day, like, how would you describe Lightroom versus Bridge? And Lightroom is like Adobe Bridge plus editing plus a few other fun features. But Bridge is really great for seeing your files, tagging them, and being able to manage them in a way that's a little bit easier than your folder structure.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
I don't understand tagging in Bridge. I can't ever search by the tag. Do you have to just put that tag name up in the search bar? I don't know. I'll figure it out. But I've tried a couple of times, and it's just not anywhere near as intuitive as Lightroom. I mean, in Lightroom, it's that little thing over on the right-hand side, and you get all the pictures with that tag.
Sure.
But Bridge doesn't seem to work that way.
I haven't searched in Bridge in a while, but I can definitely help you inside the community.
I think for Lightroom and for Bridge too, you need a monthly subscription, don't you?
Not for Bridge, no. It's free.
Oh, not for Bridge. Okay. I use the Photoshop Elements Organizer and have forever. And I find that a more economical alternative to the monthly Photoshop subscription. So
Betsy was also asking about Artisan, and I don't personally use it, but if someone else uses it, I'm happy to have you share what it is and how it's similar or different to other things.
I feel like Artisan is more of the digital scrapbooking, and Historian is more of the storage from what I know. Artisan is where you go to make your storybooks and you keep all your content in there. That's what I know about those two. I've kind of switched over to forever.com, which is also Artisan. And I'm trying to think of how I want to leave my photos for my children. So I'm really trying to clean up everything in my Forever account because that's the easiest for them to access when I am gone. Unlike Forever and Historian, they can be harder to get, or Historian can be harder to get in. But I thought only keeping the best of the best, totally organized, so they could go in when I'm gone and actually see them, use them however they want.
Sure.
I also just signed up for Forever, and I went into the settings, and one of the questions asked is, how long after you pass, basically, do you want anybody to have access to this account? And I thought, oh my gosh.
100 years.
But I'm putting all my scrapbook pages and everything in there, and it's nice because I'm just starting, so it's clean right now.
Mm-hmm. So just to close the loop, it sounds like what Stacy was describing, the Artisan is more equivalent to like Photoshop Elements, where you would actually do digital scrapbooking and make pages. And whereas Historian would be more equivalent to Lightroom in terms of sorting your stuff.
Definitely. It's really the same thing. One's the photo management, one's the creative side of the software. They're two different softwares. But Betsy, I just wanted to say to you, what they're asking you is not how long it will be there forever. It's how long do you want your private files to stay private before your kids can see them?
Right.
So
yeah.
look at the, you have to look
I
at
know,
the
but it was
questions,
just
the whole concept of forever is like it's going to be there. So.
Right. Exactly. I do know that part of it, but it was like, oh my goodness, I think I want it right away. I mean, I think, they should have access to it.
Yeah. Some people, for family reasons, don't want it to be accessible right away. They want to have it wait. It's kind of like a trust fund. Like, okay, after you're 30, you can have this.
All those bachelorette party photos.
There might be some incriminating evidence,
All right. What else did you guys talk about? Did anybody talk about like whether or not you should keep zip files versus like the unzipped file, the unzipped folder?
I talked about my habit of keeping all the zip files and how I finally learned to throw them away.
Awesome.
On the Mac, you can have it set up so it automatically unzips when you download, and then you can just delete the zips or put the zips in.
I know a problem unzipping them. It's just like, oh, I should have both just in case. It's like if the hard drive fails, they're both going to go. So what's the problem?
Yeah.
We also talked about when you're downloading a digital kit, if there are pieces in it that you're not going to use, don't bother to keep it. Get rid of it right then instead of holding on to it forever just because it was part of the kit. So we talked a lot about that.
I was going through, somehow I ended up sorting all my digital supplies like by file size. And I noticed I had like 500 of the little like branding images that the designers include inside the kits. And I'm like, okay, batch and delete all of these because I don't need it. The folder's labeled by the designer.
I came to the realization that I'm pretty good about my weekly meeting online to go through my photos and keep up to them. So I'm going to find a time weekly, probably monthly, that I'm going to commit to one of our crops that's going to be my clean up my downloads or other digital, like kind of a digital cleanup outside of photos and maybe even a backup set, just another digital work time, and pick a second time because we have so many great times that you could get together. And so if I commit to this, like, Wednesday afternoon or something, that's my time to do it, because my Monday evenings is as set as possible. Like I plan around it as much as I can. And so I need to do that as a second thing. So that's one of the things I
like that kind of the idea of layering it in, like you make one commitment and as that starts working well, you realize, okay, what if I add another one? I can tackle this other thing, and having really specific purposes for those times.
Well, I've got a question that Kathy Parrish just asked about, but now she's muted, I believe. But so you download a DigiKit, and I've got that whole download. I can go through individually and say, I don't like that pink and roses page, and I can just delete that page out of that DigiKit. Is that I don't know how to do that.
Well, it's just like a file, like when you download a kit, includes, a bunch of pattern papers and a bunch of embellishments that are transparent PNG files. And so what they're saying is that if there's certain things you don't like and you think you'll never use, you can delete those. I've personally never done that, only because I think sometimes my tastes change and I can hate something today and like it tomorrow. I'm going to blame part of that on just being a female too, because you could hate it today and be really pleasant and nice to it tomorrow. So, but I can see there's certain things where you're like, oh gosh, I'm never going to use that because it says love my baby boy, and maybe you only have girls, who knows? So I can see that in it, but it's just a regular file like any other file. You can right click and then delete, send to trash, send to recycle bin, whatever it says on your machine.
Okay, thank you.
So Stacy says, I used to hate pink and now I love it. Yeah. So you're right. What you like will change over time. I used to be all only muted colors. And I just bought this Vicky Bouton super saturated dark jewel tone collection, and it's beautiful. I'm probably going to use it more sparingly with lots of white backgrounds, but I still like the colors, but I probably wouldn't have not picked that, 5 years ago.
Also, sometimes you can just change the color.
True. You can recolor it in digital as your skills become more advanced. So it's a good point too.
I came to a realization a while ago that I don't worry about backing up any of my digital supplies because there's new stuff coming out faster than I can use up. If I had a complete loss and lost all of my supplies, which would be huge, there's plenty of new stuff coming out that I probably don't need 90% of what I have because I like the newer stuff anyways. So I've just decided I'm not going to worry about backing it up. If it goes, it goes. My scrapbook pages, those are backed up. My photos, those are backed up. But everything else, if I had to start over, there's plenty to start over with. One less thing I have to worry about is I need to back this up, or how is it safe? Or you know what? It doesn't.
Well, and I've deleted a lot of my older stuff, especially we talked in the beginning about maybe being more judicious with your downloads of freebies. In the beginning, I downloaded every possible free thing I could find because I didn't know my style. I didn't know what designers I liked. And then eventually I realized, oh my gosh, I have 1,000 free kits that I've never even opened. And so eventually I just kind of started deleting those.
Another thing that we talked about in the first session, again, was photos. And I have always put mine in my computer based on the date and location. It's just, I'm a file clerk by nature. But one of the things that I learned this past year from a session with Stacy Julian was when you're shooting a lot of photos, like so many people do with their phones, I don't, but most people do. And that is to go through that week, take 15 minutes, or if you're sitting in a parking lot waiting to pick up somebody, go through the photos of the week and get rid of the ones you will never use because the kid was looking the wrong way, the dog jumped in front of the camera, whatever. And just toss those now. And then once a month, pull the ones you really like from that set, keep those and get rid of the rest, because then you don't have that, you don't have as much junk. And then she goes in and divides them by person, place, or thing, but that's a whole other game.
Yeah.
I'm much too long-winded to explain, but but the basic part of the sort through your week kind of deal, it helps a lot because
for sure.
Got rid of a lot of stuff that way.
Well, and we take more junk photos than ever. And I have it set up so anything I share to Instagram automatically saves a copy of it as well. And so I'm I already had the photo, I shared it to Instagram, I don't need this extra copy of it. So going through and deleting all that junk just so you can even make decisions about the real photos that you want to keep.
Mm-hmm. And especially with phones, you're going to have screenshots of something you tried to remember, or that thing you saw in the store, which you don't end up with on a DSLR. So it really pays to get rid of them when you upload. I definitely found that.
100%. What about, did you guys talk about any kind of digital word art or cut files or things that maybe, more hybrid or paper scrapbookers would use. Maybe you're not a digi scrapbooker. Ali Edwards just released a brand new, she's doing she's doing monthly free digitals, it seems, like a word art collection. Do you download those? Do you keep them? Particularly if you're not a digital scrapbooker.
For me, it depends on what the subject is. If
True.
it's something I'm going to use, then yeah, I'll keep it. But if it's, I don't know, I'm not big on Mother's Day, for instance, for some reason. And so if it's Happy Mother's Day, I'm not going to bother to pick it up.
Sure.
But if it's a happy birthday I might use, yeah, then I will. I just don't download them to begin with. My big thing right now is I have a pile of cut files that I downloaded that I actually purchased, which makes it even less logical. And I created a file system for my cut files, and then I haven't put any of these in there, and I've had them sitting on my computer in the download area for quite some time. So I need to take the probably 15 minutes it would take to sort them out and put them away. But I haven't got there yet.
That's the common challenge. I think we kind of know where some of the stuff is until so much time passes and you realize, here's a semi-embarrassing example for me. Some of the podcast graphics that I create, somehow one of those like Photoshop files ended up on my desktop, and then it got nested in a folder labeled desktop. And then that folder got put in another folder called to sort. And so I've been editing that file for the podcast for like a year. And I finally moved it to the correct folder of where all my podcast files live. So I think it's a pretty common problem, and I'm not exempt from it as well. So, but I'm definitely paying attention more than I have been.
Well, that's kind of similar to one of the things that we talked about was like, you start with an organizational system, and then as you kind of change your focus, or you get more stuff, or you just get busy, it kind of morphs, but maybe not in such a great, really efficient way. Because I was like looking through my lists of stuff, and I'm like, oh, I really need to not have scrapbook supplies in like 4 different folders.
Yeah.
So I think the idea about using the time at a crop, or setting aside time to just kind of revisit what we've already done, and like, is it working? Is it not working? Do we need to change it? I thought was really valuable.
When you can even sometimes, like whatever your photo structure is, whether you're using software or not, kind of browse through your folders and see, okay, which things maybe don't belong. Because I had, my digital supplies and I had my photos, and then I realized I had a lot of photos of scrapbook pages and parts of scrapbook pages, and I was keeping those in my photos, and that didn't make any sense at all. And so I had to create basically a third category for photos of scrapbooking, and have those separate.
For me, in that case, I have different catalogs. So I have photo catalogs, and I have some divided ones because, for instance, if I have a 2-week trip to the UK, that's its own catalog because that's already like almost 10,000 photos. But I have my Digi Supplies has a catalog. This is Lightroom. I don't know if I said that. And then my scrapbooking stuff has the layouts has its own because I did design teams and my own design stuff. But what I wanted to point out is that your system can kind of have different parts. So I have the Lightroom catalogs. So photos get put in the proper catalog, Digi Supplies, and layouts. I do like to keep them separately. But they're all folders in Dropbox. So it's all synced to my hard drive and backed up automatically. And then Lightroom is also in there. So you can open it in different computers, but that's a different story. But what I wanted to say is certain things don't go into Lightroom. So Lightroom doesn't see PDFs or cut files. So those I have folders for also in Dropbox. But then those, I don't do the organization that I do for the other things. All my cut files that I've downloaded, they're all in one folder because when you put them into, say, Silhouette, you can just search by keywords. You don't have to do a whole bunch of organizing. And then the PDFs, the same way, it's like, I can just search for like the designer, say take Tracy Reed, and I'll find all the stuff. So some things have a finer organization and some things don't really need it. All the .abrs, which are the stamps, I have them all in one folder, and then that way I can import them into Photoshop. It just points to that one folder. I don't organize them in subfolders and subfolders because those I feel like aren't necessary. So, you know, some things you want more organization, other things you can just throw them all in one folder.
Well, I would also add for inside of Silhouette, you can create your own organizational structure, more like, you know, albums would be in Lightroom too. So that's pretty handy to be able to have something that's more akin to what you're doing in Lightroom, but inside of Silhouette where you're actually using those files.
Yes, yes. And then I do personally have separate folders for designs I've designed and to sell, because I also have to do like multiple file types and zip them and upload. So yeah, you can have more organization in Silhouette too.
Yeah, but that's a great point, is that, you know, and this is one of the tips that I shared in Spark Magazine this month, is that your system, for whatever it is, whether it's, you know, I have a bunch of die cuts right here, or your digital files, your system should be the simplest version of the system that works for you. And if it's not working, okay, do you need to do it differently or add more complication, add another layer? But it needs to be what is the most basic version, because sometimes we add barriers to finding our things, you know, nested folders, boxes, anything, especially multiple layers of nested folders, and then you're trying to go back and forth and you can't even find where the thing is anymore. So whatever is the easiest way for you to find the things is the level of organization that you should do. All right, this has been an awesome discussion tonight. Final thoughts? So much quiet.
Okay.
I have one.
Nadia, go ahead.
Hearing the great ideas shared. Thank you.
Yeah.
From me, from Iris, and a few others, just because I'm new to digi-scrapping, to just be sure to get myself organized now. And like you said, find a system that works for me, a designer that I really like the best, or, you know, and just get my things organized in advance as I start getting into this new hobby. Okay.
I like that.
I wanted to say also, you know, don't get discouraged. Making a habit takes time, and to just continue on and make sure that you give yourself the time to enjoy the process.
I love that. That's a perfect point to end on. I think that's what we really need to focus on. And you might change your system later. We've all changed systems over time. It's one of the great things about digital files. You can move them from place to place. So if it's not quite working, you can tweak it more later as you learn more and as you acquire more things. So thank you all for a really awesome discussion tonight. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I hope to see you again at our next Your Way workshop. And if you're not yet a member, I hope you will consider it so you can join us tomorrow for our refresh retreat. I am so excited to welcome all of our members into the classroom and have some fun creating this weekend. Take care, guys.